Good evening, everyone. How are you doing this evening? So happy to be here with you on week 3 of our Living a Life of Power series. Very excited. This will be our last one after the new year, actually. So we're on key number 3. But we're going to take 2 weeks to do it. But before we get on to all of that, just welcome. So happy to have you here with me. Please take a moment to say hello if you're on live. My name is Reverend Denise Schubert. I'm a ordained New Thought minister. Currently coming to you from North Fort Myers live tonight. It is a rainy day outside, but quite lovely. So, welcome. I'm going to take a moment to speak a word of blessing upon our time. We are on a primer for the seven non-negotiables, or the 7 keys of really how to live a spiritually powerful life. Not a humanly powerful life and not a spiritually forceful life, but a life that flows in alignment with divine harmony and peace and joy, and how to really mitigate the source of suffering. And that's a good thing, because the source of suffering is for ourselves and for the world a source of pain. Pain in my heart, I'm sure pain in your hearts as well. And there are things that we can do to be more peaceful, more calm, kinder, compassionate, more gentle, and happier. In general, just happier human beings. So tonight we are looking at the spiritual skill of creating context. And by the way, this topic for me is infinitely exciting. It is really the core of all of my own work, this skill of creating context. And my deepest hope is that as you listen to this brief, really 30-40 minutes of me going blah, blah, blah about context and content, that you catch something important. Because if you can catch this idea, and when I say catch it, I don't mean understand it. I mean, see if in your listening you can catch the idea and somehow make it applicable to your personal life. Because it's important, actually. It is the key, really, to overcoming our past, to overcoming the world, to understanding why things are the way that they are, to understanding your role and making those things different and better. It's really the key. So good luck. I'm going to just lay it out as best I can, and then hopefully you will catch it in consciousness, and we can then move forward with it. But before I start, let me just speak a word of blessing upon our time together. Again, if you are joining me right now, please say hello on the chat room. Or not, you can stay anonymous, I don't care. Though I do love seeing your names, as you know. So, but take a deep breath. This is a busy, busy time of year. You know, we talked really this past Sunday about how stressful this time of year can be. So just take a breath in the remembrance of your spiritual identity. Take a breath in the remembrance that your peace is to be found within you, your calm is to be found within you, No matter what the world is doing, you can always stop and turn within, always. And that I promise you that this power, this presence, this infinite intelligence, this wisdom, this unconditional love that I call God is right there at the center of your being. Not out here, but in here. And so I know that it is this presence of peace, this presence of love that connects us to each other. It is this presence within us that will carry us through our life from start to finish. It is the peace of this presence that enables us to walk this earth walk with any semblance of calm, order, and harmony. And so it is from that place that I bless our time here tonight, knowing that as I took the time to come here and put earrings on and set this up and do some slides, that you've taken the time to come here and to be open-hearted, with an open mind and open heart to receive whatever the blessing is for you to be here tonight. And so I call tonight good before we begin. We let it be so together by saying, and so it is. Amen, Ashe. So this creating context. So let me do, it is insanely simple, but yet it's insanely hard to agree with or to wrap your mind around, because it is in direct opposition to what the world has trained us to believe, to what the world has constructed for us, our domestication process growing up. It is so outside the realm of what we've been told and taught through our religions, through our families, through our schools, that even though it is insanely simple, it is incredibly difficult. But I want you to hold it, the idea, as perhaps insanely simple. And by the way, my passion always has been in ministry, is to make insanely complex ideas accessible to everyone, because I understand them and I have proven them to myself. I live them. So in me, there is really no complication about this. It's like I am very clear that what I'm speaking about tonight is somehow right and true, and that if you can practice, it will alter the way your life flows from this moment forward. So I'm going to use two important words tonight. The words are context and content. Those are the words I'm going to use: context and content. So it's easier in many, many ways to start with content, because content is more understandable. So content is equal. Another word for content would be results. So the content of your life is equal to the results of your life. And by that, we're talking about, in this moment, what you have and who you are. So we're talking about your circumstances, your conditions, your stuff, your money, your relationships, your health, your state of mind, your emotional state, the stuff in your house, even the furniture. The content would be whatever is in the box of your life, like the contents of a box. The box itself is the context. So the box is the context, and the content is what's inside the box. So that's pretty simple, right? So the context defines the nature and quality of whatever is inside. Another word that could be used instead of context is paradigm. So paradigm, they both mean the same thing. It's like the idea which precedes what happens. So paradigm is the big idea, or context is the big idea, and content is what happens. So for example, let me give you a very easy to understand example. There was a time in our world when people believed the world was flat. And not just some people, all people. Every human being believed in that time that the world was flat. that would be the context or the paradigm. The context is our world is flat. And when that's true to you, when that's true to the world, the only thing that can happen is what's consistent with that belief system. So people in that day believed that when they saw the horizon of the ocean and the sky, that was the end. That on the other side of that horizon, it fell off because the world was flat. So how people behaved is they didn't take their boats to the end of the world and fall off. So that's really a good example. Another example is the context for photosynthesis, or the context for growth. When you plant a seed and the carrot grows, the carrot itself is the result, not the cause. The carrot didn't cause itself. There's an idea in back of the growth of the carrot, which is the whole whatever the physical laws and principles are about growth and photosynthesis and all of that. But that's not, if you changed all that, the carrot would change. If you changed the view of the world, how people behave in the world would change. Now, this all applies to your personal life as well, because the content of your life, your relationships, your money, your work, your creativity, your sense of community is living inside a box of beliefs. It's living inside a box or a context that you more than likely did not create, but rather you inherited or you accepted by default. Now, this is important because until you, a context is decisive, meaning you can't have anything, nothing can be produced in conflict with it. So when the world was believed to be flat, the behavior of people and what they did could only match that. Nothing could happen outside of that until a new context was created. And a new context was created. Another good example of this, by the way, is in my own lifetime, your own lifetime, is when John F. Kennedy created a context. John F. Kennedy created a context when he declared, "We will put a man on the moon within 20 years." In that declaration, he created the possibility for something new. Up until then, the entire human community would have agreed that going to the moon was impossible, that it could not be done, that we didn't have the technology, we didn't have the fuel, we didn't have the ship, the way, we didn't have the way to get there, we didn't have the plans to get there, we didn't have the engineering to get there. Do you understand that nothing we needed to get there could happen inside a context that said it's not possible to put a man on the moon? The moment he said it's possible, the world began to shift and create a new box into which new outcomes could go. Now, this is important because you and I, in the process of our childhood, create belief systems. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. There are people who have and people who have not. I'm a person who has, or I'm a person who does not have. Some of mine were, in my growing up, I was very much grew up in a family with separation, that there were Americans, and then there were Russians, and then there were Mexicans, and there were Italians, and some people could be trusted and some people could not be trusted. But mostly, I grew up with this context of fear of the other, whatever the other might be. And these are very powerful because they begin to form our belief systems, which in turn form what is possible, because remember, the context is decisive. You cannot have anything. If you have a context that says life is hard, really just a belief system that says life is hard, and I'm going to show you how to look at this both ways. If you have a belief system that life is hard, what is your life going to be? Remember, I said this was simple. If you have a context that says your life is hard, you are going to have a hard life. It doesn't matter that some people have an easy life or that life is not hard. It doesn't matter what's real. When people believed the world was flat, it didn't matter then that that was not true. The world was never flat, but didn't mean that people didn't behave as if it were. Same with us. If you have a core belief that life is hard, it doesn't matter what life really is or isn't. It only matters what you believe. Now, you'll remember, I'm going to show you, right, because there is a very core idea here for us, very core idea in the New Thought teaching and quantum physics from the New Testament that says, it is done unto you as you believe. This is not, again, this is not glib or trite. This is a metaphysical statement given to us by a metaphysical master teacher. So this whole idea of context and content is powerful because it begins to explain why life is the way that it is, not only for us personally, but for the world as well. So let's unpack it for a minute with the world. If the world, so what is an operating context, or more than one? It's not just one. I mean, context is all there is. It's just a matter of figuring out what it is and how to change it, what it is and how to identify, how to interact with it so that we can be spiritually powerful. If we live in a culture where there's so much violence and so much, kids walking in schools with guns, people walking into McDonald's with guns, so much heartache, so much disease and discomfort, so much lack and limitation. Let me just ask you, do you think that the operating context for that culture is one of love and support? Do you think it's one of community and togetherness, or is it one of fear or hate or fear of not having enough? You understand? Another operating context we have in the world, and I only say this not because I'm making it up, in the world we still have children and people who starve. Is it true that there's not enough food to feed them? Is it true that they're starving because it's inevitable, or because there just are no solutions, or food is scarce? No. They starve because there is a context in which there is no solutions, or that food is not available, or that we believe that some should have and some should have not. But if we could create a context, and people, I'm telling you, if you create a context that all people everywhere will be fed, if that gets created strong enough, like John F. Kennedy's "Someone Will Go to the Moon," we would find ways to feed people. Now, I normally don't like to take it global too much, because I think the only thing that's really meaningful to you and me is personal. Like, how does this apply to you personally? Well, how you discover what a context is by looking at what's in the box. So one of the rules might be is you can't have new, until you change the box, you can't have new stuff in the box. So if you are wanting to change, so if you are noticing in your life that there's something you don't like, whether it's your relationships, you're not liking the way you feel about your body, you're not making enough money, and by the way, none of those things are important unless they're important to you. But if you're suffering, in the areas where you are suffering, in the areas where you are feeling restricted or tied down or put upon or victimized, the powerful place to begin is to, first of all, accept all that as part of the end result of accepted or default contexts that you probably never created, that God created for you, or that got created and you just accepted without challenge. I'm inviting you to challenge them. I'm inviting you to say to yourself, self, I am not bound by this idea that life is hard. I'm not bound by this idea that I am not worthy of a fantastic relationship. I'm not bound by this idea that I can make all the money I need to do what is mine to do. You are a spiritual being having a spiritual experience. You are backed by the power of this universe. Nothing in you is limited in and of itself. Contexts are solid and can be changed, but the content is always from context. So if you don't like it, change the box. If you're unhappy, change the box. Now, we're not going to talk too much on how to change the box tonight. We're going to talk about that next time. But tonight, I really just want you to understand that who you are and how you are is malleable by shifting the paradigms and the context out of which you are living. And they belong to you, by the way. There's, we do have, like, the world is flat is a shared idea. And we also have many shared ideas as a culture and as a human family. But we're not talking about those really too much tonight. I'm more interested in your personal ideas about your personal life. And I wish there were more positives than negatives, but there really aren't yet. Life is hard. Nothing really great happens to me. I work hard and nothing really good comes of it. People don't like me. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. This all happens really, it just happens by default. It's like unexamined consciousness. Socrates said, know thyself. Know thyself. Because once you start examining, then you have some power. Until you examine, you have no power. You're just on automatic. Now, I call this automatic living. And by the way, I lived this way for many years. I'm not, I know what it's like. And I know that it's true that we do it. I know many, many people who are still doing it. When you live on automatic, your life is pretty predictable. And all that really means is that you're not going to really waver too far from the box. So if historically you haven't been very successful in your career, you're going to play it safe in your career. You may stay with the same company for 150 years because you're afraid to make a change. If in relationship somebody's broken up with you too many times, you're going to play it safe in a relationship. Even this also happens even if you're very successful, you might be a very successful doctor, but don't really want to be a doctor. You want to be a photographer, but you're afraid to go that way because you've been praised as a doctor, and you don't know the unknown of being a photographer. But I'm telling you, for me, to live a life of spiritual power means that you are being authentic to your spirit, authentic to the deepest desires of your heart, that you are living a life that you love. You are living a life of meaning, value, and purpose. And this has nothing to do with money or your career or how relationships or stuff. So if you're not experiencing that, then I want you to shift into a realm of possibility rather than predictability. And a realm of possibility means you need to be able to create a new context because you're trying to break outside of a box that you're living in. And by the way, there's nothing but boxes. Nothing. There's nothing but boxes out there. There's nothing but context. There's nothing but paradigms. It's not like you can say, oh, I'm not going to live that way anymore. You have to create a new context. But what would be really, really valuable is to is to notice where you are. Now I have another quote. This is also one of my favorite quotes of all time. Possibility is not real at its origin. It is something we create as real and then stand for as a reality. Now tonight, and next time we meet, we'll talk about the creating for and then standing for as a reality. But tonight what's important here is possibility is not real at its origin. Possibility is not real at its origin. I just want to get how deep that is, especially within the conversation about creating life the way you want it to be. When people come into this New Thought teaching, they almost always come in, I know I did, and I've been ministering to people for decades. People normally are not pushed into spiritual growth. They're not pulled into spiritual growth by vision. They don't wake up one morning and say, oh my God, I think I want to grow spiritually. Mostly it's through pain. So a divorce, the loss of a job, a diagnosis, something that causes us to question life. So when you come in, if you come into my center or into my office and you want to talk about your health condition is the end result of some box. It's not, our life is never an accident, unlucky, the luck of the draw, you pick the small straw. It's always the end result of a way of being, a way of thinking, a way of interacting. So sometimes, 40 years of negativity, 40 years of not eating properly, 40 years of not loving yourself can result in a diagnosis, right? It can result in, oh, my health's not so great. So if you were to come in and talk to me about that, we would have to create a context of vibrant health being possible, of a total cure being possible. If you come into me with money woes and you don't have any money in your checkbook, until you believe it's possible for you to have more money, you can only produce what's been produced out of the box you've been living in. So this work is insanely simple, but also insanely complicated, because if change were easy, we would all just do it. We would all just change and we would all just be skipping down life's happy place and never have to do any work. Possibility is not real at its origin. So if you're wanting something you don't have, you're going to have to believe it's possible. Remember, it is done unto you as you believe. So I love, I am a Science of Mind girl from start to finish, head to toe. I'm also a Landmark Forum girl, start to finish, head to toe. Landmark Forum, Science of Mind, quantum physics, that's the kind of girl I am. And when I first heard Ernest Holmes talk to me about these things in his teaching, and when I first heard change your thinking, change your life, I totally got it. I did. I got what that meant, that somehow, unless I changed the way I thought, I could not have anything different than the thinking I was having could produce. That was true for me, and it's true for you. And it will be the greatest joy of your world to learn how to think a different thought. And by the way, it's what we talk about here week after week after week. So to be, because we're spiritual beings, you are always creating. You cannot not create. You are made in the image and the likeness of the master creator. God, whatever word you want to use, in the beginning, there was light. And in the beginning, God thought. And that thinking it peopled the world. Your thoughts your attitudes, your beliefs, your convictions, your commitments people your world. Your world is full of the end result of you. No accidents. No, you're unlucky. It's not in the stars or in the full moon. It's in your being. It's in your consciousness. And you can change, we can evolve our consciousness. That's what makes us different than rocks. You know, rocks just be, you know, the lions roar, and you and I are gifted we're endowed with the same qualities as the one who created us. So you and I have the ability to create context. The context I want you to create for this week for yourself, and you can do it right now, is I believe that it is possible for me to change. I want you to create a context of possibility, that whatever your sorrow is, whatever your angst is, whatever dreams you are dreaming, whatever changes you want to make, I want you to begin to create for yourself a big idea that it is not impossible for you to have, do, and be all of those things. It is done unto you as you believe. If you believe it's not possible, then guess what? It's not possible. So the next time we meet, we're going to explore how. We're going to explore how in a deeper way. And for now, how is it's more, I want you to look at the box, because remember, you can go into this week, the next couple of weeks, and I want you to learn about the box by looking at what's inside of it. Learn about the box called your life by looking inside of what's inside the box called your life. And listen, there's nothing to be holding back here. This is your life. And by the way, none of it's your fault. It's like, the truth is that we mostly create by default. We don't know we're creating. We don't take responsibility for creating. We've been taught that God's over there and we're over here, and we're puny and we're sinners, and we have to atone for our entire life. That's just, I just almost swore live. It's malarkey. It's not true. You were born in an original blessing with all of the power you need to create a life that you love, and you don't have to atone for anything. So you look at your life. If your relationships don't work, then just know that there's something in you that needs to get healed about relationships. You need to create a new context. You need to believe in yourself. You need to love yourself more. And all of that will begin to outpicture in your life as results in a different kind of way. So that's your challenge for this week. Begin to look at the box and to look at what's inside the box without blame, shame, guilt, or horror. Just look. And then be open next time we meet to see really some ways that you can actually create new contexts in a powerful, potent, meaningful way. Yes? Yes. Good. So wonderful. So that is our lesson for today. Christmas this weekend. So we're going to do part 2 of this on January 3rd. That's our next time for meeting. The Sunday nights are postponed until after the holidays, so the Sunday nights will continue on January 7th, I believe. It's a week after New Year's. Remember that if you want to support me and the work that we're doing, you can do that through my website at deniseschubert.com/donations, or PayPal or Zelle to my email address, which is revdschubert@gmail.com, or to my mailing address, which is 145 Las Palmas Boulevard in North Fort Myers at 33903. All right, so I'm going to pray us out, though I do want to offer this quote again for this season we're in right now, the season of being with your family and friends for holidays. And just remember to don't let people pull you into their storm. Pull them into your peace. Don't let people pull you into their storm. Pull them into your peace. So I am leaving. I'm actually going to be spending the holidays with my sisters. So I'm very excited. I haven't seen my sister. I haven't seen one of them since last year. She came and was with me when I was recovering from my hip. So I'm very excited to see her. And I hope that wherever you are, you're with people you love and who love you. But no matter where you are, create a context of well-being for yourself, even if you're alone. Even if you're alone, you don't have to be alone. By the way, I'm sure there are people who would love to see you, or a church somewhere, or a spiritual community somewhere, or a neighborhood somewhere. But even if you're alone, the peace of God is with you inside. So, all right. So join with me as I pray us out for this evening. Praying us out simply means that we turn away from the world, all the circumstances, conditions, people, places, and things that have already been created. The entire physical manifested universe is the end result of everything that has come before this moment. And as we turn within, we're turning within to the place of creation. We're turning within to the space and place within us that is consciousness itself. That is the place, the unseen, the invisible side of life, out of which all that is visible comes. It's a dwelling place of unconditional love, perfect peace, total acceptance, harmony, order, calm, all within us. It's who we are. In truth, it's who we are. If we could go back to the beginning, we would be going back to unconditional love and perfect peace. So I invite us back to the beginning now together, to make a pact to stay connected at this level, not only with each other, but with all the people in our lives. Whether they know it or not, you know it. So you get to know it for yourself and for them. And it's from that place of connection and community that I speak this word for and about each and every person within the sound of my voice, calling forth a remarkable holiday season where we are practicing holding back any harsh words, any judgmental words, where we are raising people, we're appreciating people, we're acknowledging their what's good about them, we're acknowledging what's good about ourselves, we're letting kind words fall from our lips everywhere that we go. And I know that as we do this, that the contents of that box comes to reflect the love and kindness that we are spreading around our universe. And so knowing that all is well for all of us, always, I am grateful. So we end this evening in prayer, in gratitude. We do this together by saying, and so it is. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It is always a pleasure. Jan Jennings, I love you too. Human, so good to see you. Anyone else who's here who's not checking in. And I will have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and I will see you all after the first of the year. So peace and blessings. Mwah. Bye.